But this one's got a lot of stuff going on. The key for me is to recognize this as what's in series and what's parallel, and then I can fill this table out. So when I look at this, I think, oh, I got 100, that's in series, and then all this stuff, which must be somehow in parallel, and this one down here, which is in series. So as as I'm looking this way or this way, one thing that's true is that the plus is always the longer of these lines in this battery symbol, and the minus side's that way. So current would be flowing this way from plus to minus. The other thing I could do is I could say, well, wait a minute, let's just erase these guys in instead of writing these out here. I'm going to write them like this, where one is coming here, one is coming here, and I'm going to write their numbers in 130 and 220. Okay? Why? Because then I can see, these two are in parallel with each other, and these two are series with each other. So I can collapse these into one, and then I just have two things in parallel, and I can combine those two. So let's bring these two together because they're in series. The series means they just add up. So 200 plus 130, this is the same thing as an equivalent resistor of 350. Okay? Now I've got a 350 and a 470 ohms that are right here, R3, and this combined one is 350. So if I want to now combine these two so they become one resistor, then I can put them all into a row. I like going to a total R on this side. I mean, I can write these down to here because R1 is up there. It's look at my problem, 220. R2 ends up being 130. R3, 470. R4 is 100. And R5 is 270. Okay, we're almost to the point where I can have the total resistance, one single one. So those are all my ohms. Now, let's get these two to be together. So what do? I do 350 and hit the x to the minus 1 button, plus 470 and hit x to the minus 1 button equals that answer. I hit x to the minus 1 once again, and together those all add up to become, let's see, 200 ohms. Okay, so what do I have left? 270 ohms here, 200 ohms there, 100 ohms all in a series. So I just add those all up, and that's what my total resistance is going to be. 270 plus 200, that's 370, plus one more 100 is 470. So the total resistance in here is 470 ohms. And what do I need that for? Did I have that right? 370, 570. 570, sorry. Okay, 570 ohms. Now, the next one is I'm going to say is the current that flows through these here has to be all the current goes through this one. Then it breaks up and goes into this path. Then all the current comes back through this way. So if we could figure out what one, the current is here in a series, it's whatever the current is one place is all those places. So I can use my total, V equals IR. Okay, the total voltage is 18 volts across this whole circuit. The current is what I'm looking for, and the resistance was 570, so that my I, and I may have calculated this wrong, I'm not quite sure. I think I may have calculated this when I did this by hand by 560, but you'll get a number that should be around total current of 0.032 amps. And that may be a little off because I'm just looking at this now and I think I can see a mistake on my written work. But it should be 0.035 or something like that. Okay, when I do that, I'm going to say, well, that's my total current. Now, if that's my total current going through this, it's also the current at this resistor 4 and resistor 5. So I can pop those in automatically, 0.032. And again, that's a little off. And R5, R4 and R5, 0.032. Now, do you see sort of where I'm going on this? Once I get the current, if I can get two of these filled in, then the third one is just V equals IR up there, and I can get those to be filled in. I have them filled in here, which I'm going to go rework, and so you can take a look at balancing those out. So I don't want to make this super long, but you're getting the idea. What I'm going to have to do is leave these three for last, and then I'm going to have to break these out to figure out, the voltage across here is the same. So once you know the voltage, And you may say, well, how do I know that voltage to be able to solve this? Because what happens is this one takes out somewhat voltage and this one takes out somewhat voltage. Remember, I times R at this point. If I take those two times each other, I'm going to get a number for the volts on this one to be 3.2 volts. And this one, 8.64 volts. Let's say 8.6 volts. These have already, of that 18 volts, have taken out 11.8 volts. So I've already left, all that I have left, they have to add up. In other words, I start with plus 18, and this is subtracting out 8.6. That one's subtracting out 3.2. So all that's left in terms of voltage for this last area is going to be equal to the difference of those and this. So 11.8 till 18, 6.2. Now what's cool about that is that's the voltage across this resistor, and it's the voltage across those two resistors. So I can take that 6.2 and say that's the resistance for this guy right there, which is R3. But I can't figure it out for these two. What I will do is I'll say, 6.2 is also for this 350 equivalent. And I can figure out how much current goes through there. And that's the current that's going to go through both of these two. So I'm going to take V, voltage 6.2 equals IR for those two as an equivalent. And that'll figure out how much current goes through those two. You can see it can become complicated, but you got to think like those. And so that current ended up becoming 0.0177. That's for resistance 2 and resistance 1. Okay. Now I just take V equals IR for the rest of these. Okay, I'm going to let you do that or check my worksheet to see if you got it right, because I know now that I see this error in there, but I just want you to be able to do that. And then the last one, the power. Power is equal to either IV, okay, or if you want to put it instead of voltage, you can put in IR again, which says or. You can say I squared R, whichever one you want to use is fine. Okay, and that'll fill the rest of those out. And that's what I want you to do at the bottom one too. I didn't want this to go too long. It's already 7 minutes. So you can work the rest or look at my answers, and I think that'll give you enough help to get a good start.